Are you looking for a way to scale your short-term rental business and buy more properties? Well, co-hosting might be the right fit for you. Welcome to the Co-Host Coach podcast with Joe Roney. This episode of the Co-Host Coach is brought to you by Savvy STR Agents. If you're looking to buy a short-term rental, then contact the STR Savvy Agent team at savvy.realty.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Coach. I am Joe Roney, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to have two legends on my podcast today. Two people that I met when I first got into the short-term rental industry at my first ever boot camp, Evan and Annie Duplessis. Welcome. How you guys?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I like to tell this story because when I first went to my first ever boot camp was in Nashville, and you guys were there and, didn't know who you were, but I got to hear your story the first time, as Bill talked about it on stage. And it was right before the accelerator program. And then obviously we jumped right into the accelerator after that. And the last story I like to say is when I got to meet you in person at the Build STR Wealth Conference, and we were on the dance floor and Evan was rocking it out.
That was a good time. I was rocking out, but my my lower extremities, my ankle didn't hold up too well from that dance floor. That was a good time.
Yeah. So, 2.5 years of knowing you guys, we've obviously become a lot closer over the last 6 months or so. But, going back to when it really kind of got started for you guys in the short-term space, I mean, with your previous job, like what was your previous job and why you wanted to do something?
Yeah, so my previous job was I was in the oil and gas industry. I've been in construction, pipe fitting, operations for most of my adulthood life, and there just came a point in our life where Annie and I were just sitting down, laying in bed one night, and I just was, thinking there has to be something more than getting up every day, working the 12-hour grind, working sometimes 16-hour shifts, doing turnarounds for those who are in the construction industry, or the labor force would know that terminology. And it just got to the point where I started hating my job. I loved my coworkers, loved the people. It was a great time in my life, but I just started sacrificing so much from my family life that there had to be a breaking point. And that's when I kind of discovered Bill Faith on a YouTube video on a boat talking about STR. I had no idea about him, no idea what any part of that journey was. And so I kind of went home. Me and Annie talked about it. We started praying about it, seeing if that was something that we wanted to get into, and see if that would break the mold of the W-2 chains that were bound on us. And back in 2020, that's when we purchased our first STR, and the greatest time ever, right when COVID hit and the supply chain and everything stopped. But that's what got us started. And now we have two, and we just started our co-host business, and got 4 wonderful kids, and just taking our journey one step at a time.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, we hear a lot of people tell their stories all the time, but from what I understand, you're working 80 plus hours a week at the time sometimes, 16-hour days, and not just 5 days a week. Sometimes it was 6, sometimes it was 7, sometimes you'd go long time without getting a day off, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Just depending on the season. My schedule was swing shift, so I'd work days and nights, flip-flopping. Every single Wednesday I had fire training. So that was I wouldn't say every single Wednesday, but the first Wednesday of the month I would have fire training, and then I would have river response on Tuesdays during the summer. So those were automatically 16-hour shifts. And yeah, there were sometimes I'd go on 14-day stints before I had a day off, and I worked 14 straight and 1 day off for probably the latter of the 5 years I was there.
Wow.
Some of it was volunteer, some of it was not. So it was just, we got burnt out pretty quick together as a family unit.
And I also had in there, like, you were working your butt off, but that also meant Annie had to work her butt off at home and doing everything that you had going on, because that, is not on. I mean, you're pretty much a single mom at that point, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. Is I didn't feel like a single mom during most of that time, just in only because of how many hours that he was working. So it was, me tooting our little girl at the time around, and then got pregnant with our second.
And pregnant with the third,
Yeah.
pregnant with the fourth.
But well, you were still at that.
Yeah.
Well, you're still at the.
Yeah. So first short-term rental, how did you find it and where did you buy?
Yeah. So our first STR, we being such newbies, we were like, we want to have a place that's super close to us so that, it would be easiest to find, contractors. We could build a team. We didn't have the wherewithal to self-manage, out of the state. And so we went in our backyard, which is in the Brainerd Lakes area in Cross Lake, Minnesota, about an hour where we live.
Nice, nice. And Minnesota is the land of lakes, so I'm assuming it's got a pretty good year-round booking potential up there.
Yeah, so it's finicky, okay? And I will just say, it just depends, right? Just like with any market, just like how Kenny talks about how you got to have the moat. And if you're on the lake and you're by, let's just say for winter months, you're on the ATV or, snowmobile and trails, or you're on a really good lake for ice thing, something like that. Yes, you have potential for a lot of, being honest, like our market, right? From most everybody's market peak season, right? June or Memorial Day to September. After that, we have a true shoulder season in September when kids go back to school on September 5th. School
Well, after it's
After
usually
Labor
after
Day?
Labor Day. Yep.
So
Yep.
after Labor Day, yeah, it like slows down big time. And from our January, I'll say this, our December, besides the holiday week, and November, besides the holiday week, our market occupancy for a 3-bedroom is like 20% all the way down to 9%, depending on which month it is. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're a little rural market, but out of the, 200 to 300 rentals that we do have, your bigger super properties are dropping their prices, and it's kind of hard to compete sometimes during that time. But just as Kenny said, you have the mode, you have the right amenities, you got the right, guest avatar that you can market to, you'll do just fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, it's an interesting thing in Minnesota state law that people can't go back to school until after the state fair, which is usually the week before Labor Day, leading up to Labor Day, if I remember right. So I traveled there for quite a few years, but I believe that's when the state fair is, right?
Oh, yep. It ends. It ends. Usually Labor Day. Yep.
Yep. Yep.
So, Andy, can you tell them about the state fair? If we segue into the state fair, Joe, because this is something in our marriage that I had no idea about. The Minnesota Great State Fair.
Yeah, I grew up going every single year, and unfortunately, my husband does not enjoy the fair. But my family and I, we would wake up and we'd go the first day.
All day.
All day.
Like 14-hour day right there at the fair. It's a cool thing. I will give it that. If you've never experienced it, whoever's on the podcast and want to come to Minnesota for the Great State Fair, it's definitely a destination.
It is. It's amazing.
Yep. When I was traveling out there, I was going to go there one time, and it ended up being 102 degrees that day, and I said, forget it, and I never made it.
Oh.
I regret not going, but it was on my list. So, whenever I get up there to visit you guys, maybe I'll make sure it's during that time frame and check it out, because I hear it's one of the top 3 state fairs in the entire United States. Like, it's one of the better ones.
Absolutely. It is. It is. We will take you.
So
that's a deal. Joe.
Yeah.
That is the deal.
Yep. So anyway, kind of sliding into first short-term rentals 2020. When did you make that decision to jump in and get your second short-term rental?
For the second STR, we purchased it in October of 2022 in Memphis, Tennessee, from a good friend of ours, Mr. John Hodge.
Nice.
Yeah, and that one is kind of a hidden gem. It's we toured Memphis. Memphis gets such a bad rep, and it has its places where we wouldn't go. But I will say this: the people are super nice. If you go down there and you have an open mind and you go to a lot of local spots, the people are great. We love it. Me being from Louisiana, it kind of feels like somewhat of home.
Yep.
And there's just so much to do, and we're in East Memphis, so like we're far enough from the downtown area, but close enough for all the local attractions. We're centrally located, so shout out to John for hooking us up with that property.
Yeah, no, John's a great guy. Actually, my transaction coordinator is also from Memphis. She travels back there quite often, and so we talk about that city. I've been through there a few times because we travel close to there on our way to PCB quite a bit. So yeah, I'm assuming your short-term rental and hookup with John Hodge had a little bit to do with Bill Faith and his mastermind. How was that something that really helped you along the way, being able to be in a group with people like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Bill's mastermind will always have a special place in our heart. Bill was like my first mentor, first teacher, and stuff like that. Especially for us, we went to his
retreat.
thank you couples retreat in Park City, Utah, back in 2021.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, summer of 2021. And once we did that, we felt a connection. We felt somebody that believed in us that would help us succeed and getting out of the grind of the W-2. It definitely helped push us in the right direction in that where we made a step down. I'm not fully out of the W-2, but I'm at a way a less of a schedule with working all those hours, and it works where we can work on the business together at this job. So it's a really God sent job. But being in the mastermind around a lot of like-minded people, everybody hears this, right? You have that collective synergy. People are always willing to like lend a hand and offer off-market deals in that group first before it goes to public. And we just had a chance that deal came through the mastermind, and Annie and I looked at each other, and we needed to buy a property before the end of the year. We looked, it was right in our price range. Definitely Memphis was not on our number one city to invest in, but after running the numbers, our good, better, best, we've been hitting better and closer to best on our projections ever since we've had it. And it's been a really nice place for us.
No, that's awesome, and I'm assuming, because John Hodge doesn't do anything halfway, I'm assuming he had a pretty decent design, had some stuff already, pretty nice in there. Did you have to go in there and do many updates?
Not a whole lot. We redid the fire pit and we added a hot tub,
Okay.
but we didn't have to do anything interior.
Yeah, the hot tub in that market, because that's close to me in St. Louis. Memphis is only about 3.5 hours from me, 4 hours. So, hot tub is definitely going to do well in that market and help you take it to the next level, I would guess.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because a hot tub Memphis is it's a warm market or whatever, but it really helps. That's a steady market, 60 to 70% occupancy pretty much year round. But like in the dead season in February, I mean, having a hot tub really helps out because there's not a lot of traffic, not a lot of occupancy. But if you do have that one amenity that can help in the winter, it'll definitely fill your calendar. So we're definitely grateful that we put it in there.
Yeah. So kind of coming a little bit full circle. So, bought your first two STRs and then decided co-hosting could be the next journey and the next stepping stone for you and your business. So, how is that going? And what's the reason why you decided to get into co-hosting, and how is that going?
Yeah, I think I can talk to us. I think actually one of the main reasons is actually you. I mean, being around your circle, like how much you've invested in us and just our friendship blossoming and just watching your journey. Co-hosting really wasn't on my radar. And I'm gonna be honest, just because like we were W-2 employees, I mean, we still had that mindset that we battle with daily, trying to break it and swing over to the entrepreneurial and manager side of things. And not just being like like an owner operator, but actually being like an owner. And um co-hosting just felt right at the time after joining your group and seeing everybody crush it. And our market it needs better operators and better people to run our rural market because our market is just it's like probably Gatlinburg back in the early 2000s. A lot of people have as Bill Faith would call it, that, what is it? The Golden Girls, the air,
Golden
all
Girls
that
decor.
fun
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
They still have it. And, they don't have dynamic pricing up here, which kind of stinks sometimes because you're battling these 6, 7, 8 bedroom, beautiful log cabins on lakes that are charging $500 a night flat whole summer. 4th of July, $500, And so we're kind of just getting in there and helping people realize that they can make a lot more money by helping other owners. And then, just continuing to grow our business.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about co-hosting is the sky truly is the limit, right? So you're scratching the surface. You got your first co-host client under
Yes.
contract and ended up doing a little bit of redesign. So how did that look as far as taking over that first one and what that entailed?
I'll let you speak on that.
What it entailed. So we met with the owners of the property and asked them exactly what they were envisioning. And they were very hands off with me. So we got a budget of a set amount, and we went in and we created a game room above their garage, which we feel like is going to really make them stand out. And like Evan said, the market, we are really competing with a lot of older cabins, generational cabins that came from grandma and grandpa that were just inherited, and people just put them on Airbnb or VRBO, not really knowing what they're doing. So there's not a lot of places that have game rooms. So we asked them if they'd be willing to do that, and they said yeah. So we just did a little bit of refresh and set up the property for them.
Awesome. So that's the beginning of your designing for other people, right? Hopefully the first of many.
Yes. It was very exciting. I've only done our properties, never done it for somebody else. So it was the first time you do anything, right? It's a learning curve. So you have to learn how to communicate with the people and then how they want to be communicated to. So that was a learning curve, but we have really, truly great first co-host clients. So it was easy.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think you guys are doing awesome. And what's on the pipeline? So any other clients in the pipeline to bring on pretty soon, or how's that going for you?
We got that one warm lead. We're kind of waiting on him. He's just kind of pushing the pipeline date down a little bit or further down the road. But we definitely want to get another one before summer, and then after summer, try to get 3 and hit our goal of 5 this year. And I think that would be enough for our plate, especially for our 3 little ones. The more we get into this business, I think the more we want to just be a more simpler life, simplistic life. And we're just learning, sometimes family is just, we're not learning this, but we always know this. Family's important, and we don't want us chasing the entrepreneurial dream and the business dream, take that away from our kids because they're only young once.
Yep.
And so we really want to be there for them. So we're just doing the Duplessis journey the Duplessis way. And we're doing one here, doing one there, and just continuing to invest in our kids.
But also our kids, we incorporate our kids with it too. So when we were doing this setup, they were there alongside us, helping us do it. And so hopefully they'll take on the entrepreneurship too when they grow up.
Yeah. No, and I love that. I love that part of it. And the one thing that I want to touch on that I truly love about you guys is how you are in your faith and your relationship with God, and how that has helped guide you guys to where you are today. So, has that always been there? Has that been tested? And how is that today?
Yeah. I will say this, talking about my faith, I was raised on some wonderful biblical truths. I said I was a Christian growing up, in a non-denominational church. Went through my own trials and tribulations growing up. Definitely didn't stick to the path. I think God had the easy path for me. I decided to do the knucklehead and hard path. But it made me who I am today. But I think my faith walk in the last 2 years has gotten stronger and stronger, and it's becoming more to I guess going into more of a discipleship or a disciple type mindset, where like I don't want to just say, that I'm about my faith, right? I actually want to go out and do and not be afraid to speak about what Jesus means to me in my life and to my family, and to my kids. So yeah, it's a definitely, it's a pillar in my life. I mean, it is, for me, it ranks my faith, my family, our fitness, and then our finance, in that order.
Yep. I think that's right. That's exactly how your priorities need to be, and I absolutely love that. And I love the fitness part. I know you've done. Used to be a runner. Still doing a lot of running. Marathons, Ironmans. Where you at?
It's kind of funny you bring this up because right now Annie and I are doing the 75 hard challenge together. We
Nice.
are on
Day 11.
day 11. It's a challenge that has kicked my butt. And yes, Joe, I was a runner. I ran 3 marathons in a calendar year, and it burnt me out. And I haven't ran since, but I did pick up my running shoes, and I got my bike out, and yeah, doing more trail running than pavement running. So being out in nature, I think it's I just love it. It gives me so much bliss. It's just a fun time, man. But that's where we're at. I'm trying to do this journey with Annie together and see if we can come out uh happily married at the end of it, because it's tough, man. I got a great support. Like, I don't want to go run. And then she'll be like, you need to go run. Just go do it. Go do it. So I'm very thankful I got the wife that I have. She is definitely a rock star and my supporter for that. And and a lot of other areas
You
in my
are
life too.
You're my rock star too. We're a good support for each other.
Nope. Doing this business as a team, obviously has its ups and downs, but I couldn't do it any other way than doing it with my wife, and I absolutely love it. And my daughter decided she wants to do a half marathon this year, so it sounds like I might be getting my first half marathon in this year. It's on the list for potentially in October, so we'll see what happens. So, I told her if she wants to do it, I'll do it with her. So,
Hey,
Oh,
I think that's awesome. I think you doing it, you'll be running, no more plank ceilings or whatever it is. You'll be out there running, grinding those 13 miles.
yep, it's on the goal. So it's something I've wanted to do for 5 years. I've been saying since I turned 40 that I was going to run a half marathon, and every year I come up with some sort of excuse why I don't do it, and so hopefully this will be what pushes me over the edge to get it done. So, but awesome. Well, tell me if somebody was in your area and they were looking to add you guys as a co-host and or get some information about you potentially redesigning their property, how would they get a hold of you?
And I'm old school, right? I am not the social media mogul or like go in my socials a lot. Uh, Probably find Annie. She could probably drop her, her IG account or anything like that to DM 52 or text 847-3620. That's the best way to get in touch with me, man. Like I said, I need to get better, but that's just being real with you.
or you can email UEKYN, where everybody knows your name.
Well, I will definitely drop all of that info in the show notes. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you guys, they can do that. So I really, really appreciate you guys joining me today on this podcast. And, absolutely love partnering with you guys and having you guys on our weekly calls. I've learned so much from you guys, and I really, really appreciate you guys being a part of my group. And, looking forward to seeing you guys this summer in Nashville.
Yeah, brother. Absolutely. We're very honored and grateful to be a part of your group, and looking forward to crushing it with you this summer.
Hey,
So
you
seeing you.
you gonna be in Alabama with me next month?
I gotta talk to Annie.
All right. You just let me know. I think that he still has got one spot open
See,
left. He's got one spot
we'll
open.
see. There's one spot open still.
I think there's still a spot open. The last time I talked to him, there was still a spot open. So I'm sure he'll make an exception if you decide to come. If you don't, no big deal. I'll see you in July. But
Yeah,
if you do, let me know.
I'll keep that on my radar. I got to put that on my handy dandy notepad and talk it through with the wife. So
Yep.
we'll definitely see what's going on, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. And thank you, everyone, for joining me on another episode of the Co-Host Coach. Until next week, we'll see you then.